With nearly 35,000 elephants killed annually, it is estimated that one elephant is killed every 15 minutes. And according to reports and statistics issued by global bodies and organisations, the rate at which elephants are being killed is unfortunately increasing. We sat down with the International Fund for Animal Welfare's Regional Director for the Middle East and North Africa, Dr. Elsayed Ahmad Mohammed, to find out what protection measures are being implemented by governments here in the region and what more needs to be done. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you so much for hosting me. Thank you.
Now, one of the areas that you focus on as Regional Director has been to train government officials who are responsible for implementing CITES convention agreements. For those who are unaware, can you explain what is the CITES agreement and how is it being implemented here in the UAE?
CITES agreement is a convention on international trade in endangered species of wild fauna and flora. CITES regulate international trade of wildlife, of mostly endangered species, of those species who may be threatened with international trade to become endangered of the wildlife. CITES regulate the trade. CITES does not prevent the trade. This regulation of the trade is through a system of permits and certificate, which issued based on meeting certain conditions. The main role of CITES is to regulate the trade of wildlife in a way to ensure that the trade will not be detrimental to the survival of the wild species. So this is the main understanding and implementation role of CITES Convention.
Now, the illegal ivory trade is internationally banned in accordance with CITES, yet ivory smuggling is the third biggest illegal trade after drugs and weapons. Where does the illegal trading of ivory stand at present? Can you give us an approximation as to how much ivory products are worth on the black market and who are the end-use markets globally?
Okay, let's just repeat or correct some of the understanding. The wildlife trade is estimated at a third trade on the world after the drugs and weapons. Ivory is part of the illegal wildlife trade. So recently, let's start by 2006, 2007, when we saw a high levels of poaching in Africa for the African elephant. And this accompanied by many seizures, many confiscation happened around the world for tens of tons of ivory illegally trafficked, illegally traded from Africa to Far East. It has many. You can understand many things from this. First, elephants are poached, so the elephant become more and more endangered. And some population, and here I mean the West and Central African population, become, I can say, critically endangered these days because of the high poaching levels. There is many estimation about how much elephants were poached, but I can say tens of thousands of elephants poached in the recent years. Maybe one of the important reports which published recently, it is called Elephant in Dust. And this report issued by IUCN in the United Nations Environmental Program and CITES and Traffic Organization. It is stated that it is tens of thousands. I think the least figure is 70,000 elephants killed per year. 70,000 elephants killed per year. Now the elephant population is declined in Central and West Africa, and there is a significant high level of poaching in other population in East Africa and South Africa. The main destination is Far East, mainly, according to the report, mainly China and Thailand. So there is a problem here, and it is a worldwide problem. It is not a matter of Africa. The demand in Far East. So we are talking here about international cooperation to prevent this crisis.
Now, what is the illegal global trade of wildlife and animal parts valued at annually?
I will use the figure mentioned in the same report that I mentioned, elephant in dust. It is said that estimation is about from 5 to 20 billion dollar annually is the worth or the volume of the illegal wildlife trade each year. Ivory is part of this illegal trade.
Now, as you've already mentioned, current population estimates suggest alarming declines in elephant numbers in Central and West Africa. Reports suggest that poachers are better equipped than ever and better supported by criminal networks. Looking on the ground of these source countries, what kind of initiatives and strategies are in place to discourage poaching?
We are working on several issues, on several points of the serious of the illegal trade. But the first one is protecting elephant on their habitat in the national park. So we, as IFAW, International Fund for Animal Welfare, we support national park, especially the one in Kenya. It's called Amboseli National Park. So with our limited resources, we support this national park by accommodation for the rangers, by vehicles, by equipment, even by health insurance for the ranger to allow them to do their work in a proper way in protecting elephants. And the other NGOs supporting other national parks. So this is the main point, to support ranger in the national park like we did, like what we are doing in Amboseli in Kenya. And we encourage other NGOs and other government to do so. But this is the first part. The second part is capacity building for enforcement, is to train and increase the awareness of the government officer or wildlife officer about the illegal trade of ivory. So they prevent any illegal trade through the entry point, exit entry point from Africa. And the second step is the awareness of the public, like what we are doing here in Dubai. Dubai is a transit point, so awareness and warning passenger coming from Africa to the Far East is that ivory smuggling leads to prosecution. Ivory is illegal and they should not buy or carry ivory while they are traveling back to China or Thailand. This is a second awareness. And our major part of work in China itself, in the demand reduction campaign. China is the main buyer. China population is big, and it is part of what is happening there. People would like to buy ivory. So demand reduction and making awareness there about what is happening in Africa and what is the consequence of buying ivory. Ivory will be get from a killed elephant. Ivory will not be getted like this. It is not like gold or any precious stone. Ivory is being taken from a killed elephant. And this will be a consequence for the survival of the species in Africa.
Unfortunately, Dubai does stand at the crossroads, and ivory smuggling from Africa to Asia via Dubai has increased dramatically in the last year. Now, the government and Dubai police have also increased their efforts. Recently, there was a campaign held here at Dubai airport. Can you tell us how successful this campaign has been in driving the message home?
As the campaign is running out, it is the second year for this campaign, and mostly this type of work needs more and more effort and more investment to get a real result on the ground. But last year we target 700,000 passenger, and this year we are targeting 1 million passenger. This is only in Dubai. The effort in China is much more huge. I don't have specific figures about our work in China. It belongs to our regional office in Beijing. So I am sure it will have effect on passengers, but we are not in the stage to measure the effect now. But our major point of measuring the effect of this campaign is to see the decline in African poaching, African elephant poaching. And still, till now, there is high level of poaching.
I guess finally, in your opinion, what other protection measures need to be implemented, not just here, but also abroad?
One of the main points that we targeted recently in the last 2 years is encourage exchange of information about syndicate, about the illegal trade, about confiscation. And IFAW, International Fund for Animal Welfare, has signed an MOU with Interpol for capacity building and encouraging exchange of information about illegal wildlife trade as a general. So this is one of the points we are encouraging countries to adopt exchanging of information about the illegal ivory trade and syndicate in Africa and those traders in China, to stop that trade, to track down the organized crime that we think it playing a role now, clear and big role in the ivory trafficking. So exchanging of information maybe is another important point.
Dr. Elsayed, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm happy.
Well, that brings us to the end of our program. If you would like to get in touch with us, you can contact us at UAE Weekly at city7tv.com or by calling us on 04367 2230. From myself and the entire team, have a great week ahead.